Isn't what it used to be. Like, you're eating the same way that you did maybe in your 20s, and now the weight just won't budge. Or maybe you've tried all of those metabolic boosting tricks like the apple cider vinegar, the miracle supplements, the intense workouts, all of those things, maybe even more, but nothing seems to work like it should or like it used to. Well, here's what nobody actually tells you. After 35, your metabolism doesn't have to actually slow down. You just need to know how to work with your body's natural changes instead of against them. So if you're nodding your head right now, go ahead and drop the word metabolism in the comments, because I'm about to show you exactly how to fire up your metabolism at any age using real science instead of quick fixes or any of those appetite suppressing injections and pills and potions that are just going crazy right now. So in this video, I'm going to reveal exactly a few different things to give you some solutions that are really, really viable and that work really well. Number one, I'm going to give you and reveal the 11 scientifically proven ways to optimize your metabolism after 35. Also, why common metabolism boosting advice might be actually making things worse for you. How to burn more calories even when you're not exercising. That's a good one. And the exact formula for maintaining a strong metabolism for life, regardless if you're old like me and you're older than 35, all right? So before we dive in, though, I do have something special for you. For anybody watching today, I'm actually giving away my book, Food, Love, and Fat Loss, okay? This book normally is for anywhere from $17 to $27, depending on promotions that I run, and I'm giving it completely free to everyone who watches this video. So again, this normally is going to run about $27 unless we have a promotion. In this case today, it's totally free though. So if you'd like to get that, go ahead and drop the words free book in the comments, or you can click the description below and I'll send you your copy right away. Now, this offer is only available to video viewers, so grab it while you can, because this is not normally a free opportunity. So with that being said, if you are new to the channel, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome back. My name is Lance, and I help professionals and entrepreneurs achieve permanent fat loss transformations without crash diets, without torturous workout sessions, or expensive appetite suppressing injections. So since 2005, now 20 years, I have helped hundreds upon hundreds of food-loving clients build very strong, lean bodies and regain confidence and energy while actually enjoying the process. And I know that might sound crazy, but I'm here to tell you, somebody is a major food lover who's been in this industry now for 20 years. I can tell you this is not only possible, but it is the best way to keep body fat off and to keep in the best shape of your life. I assure you. And I've been honestly battling the naysayers since high school, my freshman year, which was the beginning of my first transformation. And I say first because I thought I had transformations, but in reality, I really had temporary makeovers because I was doing things way too rigidly. And so I have been battling naysayers since then on whether I'm going to regain the body fat and whether I'm going to get out of shape after high school or after this thing or that thing, or just wait till you're 30, wait till you're 35, wait till you're, well, now I'm almost 40. I'm still in shape. I'm actually in better shape now than what I was when I was in my 20s, and I live a much less rigid lifestyle. I don't work out as often. I work out better. I enjoy my life. My joints hurt way less. In my 20s, I had elbow pain constantly, along with shoulder pain and all of this. I was doing so much wrong, even as a personal trainer. So with that being said, I want to tell you about a client of mine from a little bit back in the day. Her name is Stephanie. Well, it's at least what we're going to call her for today. I want to protect her privacy. She was a 47-year-old client who came to me very frustrated with what she called a broken metabolism, okay? Now, I don't know about you, but that was something that I heard most of my 20s pertaining to, your metabolism slowing down. And in my 20s, I really didn't know whether that was accurate or if it wasn't. But she was doing everything that she thought was right. Intense cardio sessions. She was eating the tiny meals 4 to 6 times a day, taking all the supplements that promised to boost metabolism. I mean, everything. In the early 2000s, there were so many supplements that were, like guarana and all these different things, green tea extract. Everything is supposed to boost the metabolism. And unfortunately for her, her weight just would not budge. Her energy was at rock bottom, and she felt like her body was kind of working against her. But for her, she kept blaming her age. Now, what she didn't realize was that these aggressive approaches were actually damaging her metabolism further. Now, when I say damaging, for anybody, if you are in the fitness industry, you already know that that's more of a myth or misnomer on damaging. But we're going to use the word damage because for those who are not in fitness, it is a reduction of metabolic output, okay? So I don't need any of the semantics. If you're a keyboard warrior and all that stuff saying, actually, it's not damage, wrong video, all right? So not to be super snarky, but wrong video, all right? So with that being said, her body was actually in survival mode at this point. Now, is that really what, for the lay people, we call it survival mode. If you're in fitness or if you've been around for a little bit, we call this adaptive thermogenesis, okay? Now, what was happening is that her body was holding on to every calorie and not allowing her to loose or let go of stored energy, aka body fat, all right? But once we implemented the strategies I'm about to share with you, everything actually changed, okay? And she wasn't the only one. I've actually done this with hundreds of clients in the last, probably about 9 or 10 years is where I really started focusing on metabolic restoration and creating the most balance for lifestyle transformations instead of a temporary makeover, okay? So with that being said, within weeks for her, her energy soared, the weight started finally coming off. Most surprisingly, she was actually eating more than she had in years. And this is the part where most people are confused by. They believe that if you're going to lose body fat, that you've got to cut out your carbs or you've got to barely eat anything. And if you lose some weight from reducing your calories, well, if some is good, more must be better, right? Well, that's what she thought too. And unfortunately, she was barely eating around 1,150 calories a day. And I mean legitimately eating this. She was working out multiple times throughout the week for lengthy periods of time. And she complained that if she missed a workout, she was gaining weight. Now, of course, I was a little skeptical because I've seen a lot of metabolism issues, but I've never seen anything like that up until about 3 years ago where I saw another one, a client of mine named Sarah. And in this situation here, she was terrified to reduce her workout. She was terrified to eat more. So we really had to work on a lot of the mindset and habits and strategies and really had to help her to understand how the metabolism actually works and all of that. So today we're going to go through all of the 11 strategies that I teach within my program to help my clients over 35 to restore a slow metabolism to get excellent results. And more importantly, without cutting out food groups that you enjoy or cutting out even foods that you like, your favorite foods like pizza and waffles and things like that, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to go into each of these. I'm going to move pretty quickly because I do have 11 and I want to make sure this video isn't like 64 minutes long. So the very first thing is that you want to master EPOC. That's excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. What is EPOC? Well, in the marketing world, we call it the afterburn effect because it just is easier rather than explaining excess post-exercise oxygen, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares about that. But this is where your body burns calories for hours after exercise, okay? Especially resistance training. It works really well. Now, high-intensity intervals create 6 to 15% more EPOC than steady-state cardio. That's if we're talking cardio versus cardio. When we're talking about using HIIT-style training with resistance, we really do have a lot of afterburn effect going on. So whether you choose to do strength and hypertrophy style resistance or HIIT style resistance, you really are looking at significantly burning more calories and keeping your metabolism up longer compared to doing steady state cardio, okay? Now, resistance training can extend EPOC for up to 38 hours, all right? That's crazy, but that's legit. So if you go do a workout, if it's done right, you're going to increase your metabolism output for up to 38 hours. Now, with that being said, the reason I want to share this is because most people, especially over 35, when they're wanting to lose body fat, the first thing that they do is think, I'm going to cut my carbs and I'm going to start doing cardio. And that's a quick way to actually slow things down instead of getting the results you want, okay? So when we focus on using resistance training for EPOC or the afterburn effect, this is strategy number 1. So we want to use resistance training to elevate and increase the metabolic output. Strategy 1. Strategy 2 is to protect your metabolism with smart and safe caloric deficits. So we want to keep calorie deficits between 300 to 500 calories maximum. And the thing you need to know is that larger deficits are going to trigger adaptive thermogenesis, which slows the metabolism. Now, adaptive thermogenesis is simply the downregulation of our metabolism, which is how many calories that we burn. And all this is, I've argued with so many people on this where people are like, that doesn't happen. Yes, it absolutely happens. I've done this for a decade with my clients, and too many people have eaten very few calories and burned a lot, and your body has no choice but to begin downregulating how much it burns to conserve energy, to make sure that the energy that you're getting the nutrients are actually delivered and used for the body. And when you are doing excessive cardio and you're doing the low calorie thing, your body does do this adaptive situation where it is going to downregulate in order to conserve energy. So larger deficits, again, are going to trigger that quickly. So you want to make small adjustments every 2 to 3 weeks also to prevent plateaus. What this means is that if you've ever, and this will help this, if you've ever gone on a diet, a meal plan, or figured out your calories, and you start losing weight for 2, 3, maybe even 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden it stops, this is absolutely what adaptive thermogenesis is doing. Now, yes, there is a loss of lean body mass or a loss of body fat, which means that your body has less mass. Less mass means less calories to maintain said mass. However, we do notice that even with the let's say the estimated suggested amount of caloric reduction, or how much your body can burn through loss of body fat or loss of muscle, we see that the math is actually significantly higher than what those estimates are when adaptive thermogenesis is present. What I mean by this is that there's estimated math that'll show us, okay, you've lost 6 pounds of body fat and 3 pounds of lean body mass. This should have been a reduction of X amount of calories that you're burning, but yet we can see that you're at this amount of calories and still not losing weight, which shows us, as long as they're truly eating that, there is more happening than just the loss of body fat and loss of body mass leading to the reduction of how much your body burns, okay? So I only spell that out just in case there are maybe 1 or 2 people that are like, wait a second, isn't it because it's loss of body mass? Yes and no, it's part of it, but adaptive thermogenesis is where it's going to slow down more than what normally should happen from the reduction of body fat and body mass, okay? So in order to make sure you don't plateau, you simply adjust your calories every 2 to 3 weeks. Now, with my clients, I normally do every 1 to 2, just depending. We'll monitor everything. But if you adjust your calories every 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to prevent plateaus. And you can do this all the way until you reach a low or uncomfortable calorie intake, in which case you can start doing what's called reverse dieting to begin restoring the metabolism, okay? So this process of making adjustments prevents metabolic adaptation, which is, again, the slowing of the metabolism, and it maintains your energy levels too, all right? So that's strategy 2. Now, strategy 3 is to maximize it's called NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Now, we're going to talk about basically what's known as non-exercise physical activity and NEAT together, because technically, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT, is only pertaining to, hang on, turn on Do Not Disturb, there we go, is only pertaining to, did I get it? There we go. It's only pertaining to unconscious movements, whereas NEPA, non-exercise physical activity, is pertaining to conscious activities as well, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use them interchangeably. So NEAT is kind of what we refer to it, and that is going to be, again, the any movements that are not direct exercise, but your body is using for energy. So NEAT is going to account for 15 to 20% of your daily calorie burn. That's more than exercise, which is about 4 to 6% in a given day. So this is a big area where people are like, Lance, I just can't lose any more weight. I'm old now. I'm this. It's just not my metabolism. The thing. It just doesn't work. And I start investigating and I see, well, wait a second. you're only getting like 4,100 steps a day. And most of the time, I'm going to recommend my clients to get 7,500 to 10,000. And my best performing clients get close to 12 to 15,000. So this is really more to do with your lack of activity more than it is to do with your slow metabolism. But NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is going to accelerate your metabolism. Basically, it's just allowing you to burn more calories. So some simple ways to increase this. Number one, like I'm doing, I'm standing at my standing desk here instead of sitting. So another is standing while on phone calls, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, parking further from entrances, walking while watching TV. You can use those, they're called walking pads, and they're great. My clients use those. There's so many different ways to do this, but you want to track steps and gradually increase your daily movement. So where I'm going to recommend that you start is we teach a good, great, and awesome goal system. So 5,000 is your good goal, your minimum. 7,500 is your great goal, your moderate or your median. And then 10,000 is your max, your awesome goal, your top goal, okay? So that's a great way to increase and improve the metabolism for greater fat loss over 35. So strategy 4, we want to optimize for TEF, which is the thermic effect of feeding. Now, the thermic effect of feeding, simply put, is just a fancy way of saying that when you consume calories, there are nutrients and digestion that needs to occur. So the nutrient delivery, where I eat protein and the protein gets turned into nutrients that get sent into my body for use, along with the digestion, those processes are what's known as the thermic effect of feeding, meaning that it takes calories to deliver those calories, and it takes calories to burn as well to digest those calories. This is what we call TEF, or thermic effect of feeding. So you want to aim, because protein is the highest highest in TEF of the macronutrients, so along with fiber. So what we recommend is that you aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight. So if you're wanting to weigh 120 pounds, you would eat 120 grams of protein. If you're wanting to weigh 180 pounds and you're a male, or 190 pounds and you're a male, 190 grams of protein. Very simple. The other thing you want to do is get at least 25 grams of fiber a day. If you're not getting enough protein or fiber, you are leaving fat loss on the table, meaning your metabolism is not as active and effective as what it could and should be. Next thing you want to do is to space protein intake throughout the day. Now, you don't have to do 6 meals like everybody teaches. I'm going to be the first to tell you that. But eating all your protein in one sitting is probably not going to be a good idea for you. So what I would say is that making sure that you're not getting higher than 55 grams of protein per meal. Otherwise, the rest of it may just not be utilized in the same way that you're wanting it to. So let's see. The next one is that protein, as I mentioned, it is the highest in TEF, but it actually burns 20 to 35% of calories during digestion in that nutrient delivering system. Pretty awesome. Okay. Strategy number 5, we want to build metabolically active tissue. What is that? Muscle. This is an area where so many people neglect. Women, a lot of times that I have worked with in the past, in the beginning, they will be worried that they're going to look bulky or blocky or thick or puffy. And I'm going to tell you the same thing that I've told them for years. When you see another person that looks puffy because they're building muscle, it is not the muscle causing this. They're not lifting some way that causes them to get all puffy and blocky. What do you think it is? It's body fat. If your body fat is high and you put on muscle without reducing body fat or gain body fat, you're going to look like the Marshmallow Man. It's just that simple. Or if you're on gear meaning you're on some sort of steroids, testosterone, something ancillary that you don't really require. Now, I'm not talking about using HRT or TRT. I'm on TRT. I've been on it for 9 years. Great thing. I'm on the lowest amount of testosterone I've ever been on, and I feel great doing that. And we'll just leave it at that. So TRT is something totally different. I don't get puffy and blocky from using testosterone replacement therapy. If I were to double my testosterone, I'm probably going to get a little bit more blocky. If you're a female doing that or using testosterone when you don't need that, probably going to get a little bit blocky as well. But if you're not, and your body fat is being reduced while you're gaining muscle, which again, just by gaining muscle alone is going to speed up the metabolism, you don't have to worry about getting puffy, I assure you, okay? Also, you want to make sure that you're using progressive overload, and a lot of times what I see is that women or men who are afraid of looking blocky, they don't realize that their workouts are actually more aligned with strength than they are with hypertrophy and aesthetics. What I mean by that is that they're lifting very heavy, and then they're taking 2 to 3 minutes between sets for their rest time, allowing everything to calm down. We're not getting heart rate up. We're not stimulating near enough EPOC because the oxygen is being replenished fine. This is not the way to have a metabolic workout, I assure you. Now, you can build strength, hypertrophy, which is size, and you can also burn calories or lose body fat simultaneously if you're doing it the right way, which is short rest periods, anywhere from 30 to 45 second rest times, and making sure that you are lifting heavy enough with progressive overload. I'm not going to get into all of that stuff, but what you need to know is that each pound of muscle burns 6 to 10 extra calories daily at rest. You'll burn even more than that during your workouts. Now, fat only burns 2 to 3 calories per pound. So again, just in and of itself, as you reduce body fat and gain muscle, we're going to have a better metabolism. So the other thing you want to do is keep in mind that focusing on progressive overload in training not only increases your strength, but it increases the amount of muscle tissue you have in your body. Therefore, you are more metabolically active. So 5 pounds of muscle, though, is going to be an extra 30 to 50 extra calories burned daily at rest, even more so if you work out consistently, all right? So putting on muscle is going to be by far one of the best things that you can do for your metabolism, and those who do not work to gain muscle are just going to notice that their metabolism never does perform the same way as somebody else who is building that. And again, I've got loads of anecdotal evidence to prove that, along with, obviously, there's just handfuls and handfuls of studies that prove the same thing, not anecdotally, but literally through observation method and what they found, all that stuff. You can go find those too. Let's see. Okay, strategy 6. You want to master your blood sugar. This is a huge one. So how do we do that? Well, we want to choose low glycemic index foods 80% of the time. So we teach the 80-20 rule. 80% of your calories are going to come from whole foods, 20% come from fun foods. A lot of times people are cutting out carbs because they're afraid of insulin resistance. They're afraid of all the things carbs do. And the reality is that carbs are not the enemy. But if you're choosing high glycemic index carbs and the bulk of your calories are coming from carbs, yes, you're going to find yourself being pre-diabetic at some point. You're going to have insulin resistance and you're not going to have the metabolism that you want. But if you choose low glycemic index foods, it's going to prevent insulin resistance and fat storage. So another thing that really helps is that you want to pair your carbs with protein and fiber carbs. So what this means is that when you're eating something like, let's say, a tortilla, having a tortilla with chicken is going to be something that's going to lessen the insulin spike going on. Okay, so in fibrous carbs or fibrous foods, because there are going to be foods that are fibrous but are not considered a carb, like an almond. These fibrous foods are going to also slow down the glucose rising, which means that we're not going to have the insulin effect as well. So again, this is on this situation. This is going to maintain and stable energy throughout your day too, okay? Or stabilize your energy throughout the day. So rather than having insulin spikes where the energy goes up and then crashes down and what you couldn't use gets stored in a fat cell, this way is so much better to do, all right? So that's number 6. Also, if you want to know, like, well, what kind of foods are low glycemic index? I've got a full list. Just comment below. Hey, I'd like your glycemic index food list, or just food list, whatever. Just drop it below, and I'll send you. I've got well, it's actually 7. It's 7 cheat sheets, and one of the cheat sheets has all of the low, moderate, and high glycemic index foods, and all you got to do is just scan through, choose your foods that are in the low and moderate glycemic index. You're good to go. So if you want that, if you want to know more about that, I've also got other videos on the glycemic index too. I'm just not going to spend too much time going through that. But the glycemic index essentially is how quickly your body will uptake sugar, okay, or glucose. Okay, so we are on, let's see, that was 6. So we're on strategy 7. This is where you want to implement strategic recovery phases, okay? Now, strategic recovery phases, what I mean by that is to always follow a fat loss phase with a metabolism restoration phase, or AKA reverse dieting. So you always want to use reverse dieting after your fat loss phases. Otherwise, again, that adaptive thermogenesis we talked about is going to cause your calorie output to be lower. So imagine this. You drop 30 pounds and it took you getting down into, let's say, 1,400 calories just to get the rest of the fat loss off, okay? Or fat off. And at this point now, if you've ever dieted before, you know, well, great, now I'm eating at like 1,400 or 1,500 calories in order to maintain my body weight. And if you start eating more, you might notice that you're gaining weight again. Well, this is because the amount of metabolism, how much your calories are burning, has been down regulated. And so what we want to do is upregulate it. How do we do that? Well, by feeding you more in an incremental, strategic manner, slowly, so that your body gets the signal to start wasting or burning more calories compared to what it was doing before. Basically, it sends the signal to your body, hey, we're no longer in this fat loss phase. You don't need to do some of the things you've done, down regulating and trying to figure out how to conserve energy. Instead, now I want you to be less efficient. I want you to burn more energy. And when you start consuming more, your body will start burning more calories, okay? So that's how that works. How that is that you want to gradually increase your calories by 50 to 100 calories weekly. It doesn't mean every week though. Our rule is if you gain more than 0.5 pounds in that given week, you don't add any more calories until your body has stabilized the weight. And this is going to prevent you from gaining too much body fat. It's going to allow you to gain more lean body mass, which speeds up the metabolism. And it's going to allow you to have a more comfortable amount of calories coming in. All right. Let's leave it on that one. So this is going to restore your metabolic capacity, and it's going to prevent rebound weight gain. Rebound weight gain, if you've ever been there where you go on a diet and then you go back to normal afterwards and you notice that you regain, it's because of this. It's because you jumped back up to your old normal when your new normal is way down here in the calorie zone that is more in the 1500s maybe, and you're trying to get back into 2000, 2500, and your body sees all of those excess calories as a surplus of calories. This is why you'll gain, okay? All right, so that was strategy 7. Strategy 8, don't sleep on this one. This is prioritizing sleep quality. The reason I say don't sleep on it, number one, because I'm making a pun, which, again, I'm over 35, I can freaking do that. The other is because most people, when I talk about sleep, they're like, sleep, okay, yeah, sleep, metabolism, okay. Guys, sleep makes such a big impact on your metabolism. It's one of the biggest contributing factors of your basal metabolic rate, also known as your resting metabolic rate. So if you want your metabolism to be working like it should, you got to get at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep, okay? Got to do that. So poor sleep reduces your BMR by up to 20%, if you can believe it. 20% is freaking a ton. You also want to create consistent sleep and waking schedules. That'll help you out. It's hard for me because I am a night owl and I basically work kind of a second shift thing where, again, like right now, it's 6 p.m. my time, and I'm not done with work, probably won't be done for another hour or two, which means that I don't get winding down until maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock. And with that being said, I like to have a little bit of wind down time, so sometimes I don't get to bed until 1 a.m., so what I have to do is make sure that I don't stay up past 1 a.m. because I still have to get up at a decent hour. And if I'm trying to get up a decent hour as I'm going to sleep later, I'm getting less and less hours of sleep. So you've got to be strategic. You've got to plan ahead. You've got to do things that feel childish at times because that's what successful people do. Meaning that you plan things, you put things in your calendar, you set alarms, you do whatever you need to do the habit or to do the action so it becomes a habit. But if you don't, just go ahead and count on not getting as good of results as what you hope for. Another thing that helps is dark room, cool temperature, no screens before bed. The no screens before bed is one that I am working on, but it's something that will absolutely disrupt your sleep cycle, being especially like when you're looking at phones or like I've got right here, my giant computer screen. Guys, these LED lights, they're doing micro flashes before your eyes and you're consciously not picking up, but your brain is getting the disruption of all the flashing every couple seconds. These flashes of your LED lights are going on. This is going to disrupt your sleep. So at minimum, what I would start saying is, if you look at your phone right before bed, start setting yourself a rule where 15 minutes before you go to bed, you put your all devices off and down. Then work up to 30, 45, an hour, and then eventually about 90 minutes to 2 hours before your bedtime, you'll not be on any devices. And this is, I promise you, it takes a little bit, but you will sleep better. And when you're sleeping better consistently, you're going to notice that you're burning more body fat. All right, strategy 9. Let's see here. Try and make sure I'm moving pretty quickly. You got to manage stress levels. Again, don't sleep on this one. People are like, well, I'm stressed. What can you do? Lots. Trust me. And it's so important. High cortisol reduces your metabolic rate. All right. We oftentimes call this adrenal fatigue. And this is, again, something that affects so many people because most of us are so stressed out. And when we've got that stress going on, our body is not functioning optimally. So you want to implement stress-reducing activities. Well, what are those? Well, one of the best one is something where you do nature walks, but it's something called grounding. Now, I'm not talking about the more new age or esoteric version of grounding where it's more meditative and all of this. I'm talking about literally bare feet on the ground because of the ground. Let's call it. We'll call it via electricity that flows, the current, electrical current through the earth, if I can freaking think. When we're putting our bare feet on there, essentially what's happening is we're beginning to get our bodies more in the same current as what the earth is, the ground. And by doing this, we're essentially disrupting all of the disruptions, which sounds funny, disrupting disruptions, but we get disrupted with all of the electricity that's around us. And when we're grounding, we're disconnecting from the electricity and reconnecting to the electrical current that is more suited for us, which is in the earth. Probably doing a horrible job of explaining that, but hopefully you get the idea. So nature walks, bare feet is amazing. Deep breathing exercises are actually really great. I used to ignore that, thinking that breathing didn't really work, but there's something called 4-corner breathing, where you're going to breathe 4 seconds, exhale, hold for 4, breathe 4 seconds, inhale, hold for 4, and repeat. This is 4-corner breathing. And I promise you, somebody who used to battle severe blackout panic attacks, I don't have that anymore. And using some of these techniques that I'm talking about have helped this. I mean, I used to get so anxious going into certain public places. I've battled agoraphobia. I've had driving issues, all kinds of things, all pertaining to anxiety. So I only share that, even though it's kind of embarrassing, because I want you to know this is not coming from some fit guy who doesn't understand anxiety. No, I assure you. I don't want to call myself neurotic because I'm trying to not speak things that are fully negative, but I have some pretty neurotic tendencies. I'm an overthinker, I'm an academic and a musician, not a jock, not a fly-by-night free, type person, at least not naturally, all right? So these things have helped me immensely along with my clients. Regular bedtime routine, and then time blocking for work and life balance. Guys, this is one of the things I see so often with my clients. They feel guilty for blocking off time to do the things that they need to for self-restoration. And you cannot feel good or cannot feel bad about that. You've got to set time for yourself to recharge, to recenter, to refocus, and to refill your cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And if you don't, you are going to have increased cortisol, which is going to lead to an increase of ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. You're going to have all of these things. Again, you're going to have a decrease of leptin. Leptin is what helps to turn on when you're burning fat and not. And so you want to make sure that all of these hormones are optimized. And the only way to do this is to make sure that you're not constantly on stimulants, you're getting enough sleep, and you're not constantly stressed out. All right. Another last little one on strategy 9 is make sure you've got good boundaries on your work hours. All right. Now I've struggled with that because I've run my own business for the last 19 out of 20 years. So that one's been a challenge for me, but it is one that I really, really operate on well now, where it's like, hey, these are my work hours. And if it's after that, I'm just going to have to say no to it and I'm not going to feel bad. You should do the same. Okay. Moving on, almost there. Strategy number 10 is to control your alcohol intake. Guys, nothing wrong with having a little bit of alcohol, but you need to understand that your body prioritizes alcohol metabolism over fat burning when alcohol is present in the body. That means that normally your body is going to oxidize or use either fats like healthy fats, or really it's just fatty acids, or glucose, glycogen. And when alcohol is present, it uses neither until the alcohol is gone. When the alcohol is gone, then it's going to switch over. I'm not going to get into the oxidation and all of that stuff, but that's what we're looking at. So it's not going to be metabolizing the carbohydrates, glucose, or the fats, fatty acids. It's going to be using alcohol. So hopefully that makes sense. It also disrupts your protein synthesis and recovery. That's a huge one. Protein synthesis is what's going to, again, allow for muscle growth, stimulation, all that stuff to happen. Not stimulation, you had that in the workout, but it's synthesis. There we go. It's going to prevent that. The other thing it's going to do is impair your sleep quality. Now, if you get totally slammed, and yeah, you might sleep really well, but you're not going to wake up feeling super recharged either. But doing consistent alcohol intake, especially excessive, you are going to notice that your sleep quality does get worse, or you're going to require alcohol just to be able to sleep, which is not a good thing either. It also leads to, and this is probably one of the biggest ones that I've seen with clients, leads to poor food choices and overeating. You lower your inhibitions when you're drinking, especially if you are drinking as opposed to having a beer, a glass of wine, etc. It starts leading to lower inhibitions, which means that you don't care about your body fat in that moment because you're feeling a little bit better and you're like, yeah, it's great. You know what sounds good? Taco Bell. Now, Taco Bell might be great. You can do that. But if you're having it just because you've had some alcohol and it's 2 a.m, probably not going to be good for your metabolism. All right. So, okay. Strategy number 11 is to maintain consistency. So I don't think of it as like just consistency. Oh, that's obvious. No. I'm talking about taking small baby steps to build up to consistency rather than trying to make everything perfect. So small, consistent actions beats your perfect days. And when you're consistent more often, this is going to help your metabolism to be regulated. The other thing you want to do is to track progress and adjust as needed, meaning that you're going to make sure that if you're taking in a certain amount of calories or burning a certain amount and you start noticing that things slow down, you can simply make adjustments to those calories, and this will prevent you from having a slowdown of fat loss. So that's another one. The other thing is to focus on habits over quick fixes. This is a big thing that I preach on because I believe personally from my 20 years of doing fitness coaching that weight loss in and of itself, where people are like, oh, I got to go lose weight. This leads to doing things that are not healthy, that are not sustainable, such as I'm going to cut out all my carbs so I can get off this 50 pounds and then go back to normal. Well, what I have said for the last 10 years is if you are looking forward to getting off of what it is causing you to get in shape or healthy to go back to normal, that means that this thing is not normal that you're doing. Whereas what I'm teaching instead of a temporary makeover is a permanent transformation. That's why I'm teaching you how to live like I live. Well, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that most people who are trying to lose weight, they do things I would never consider or things that I haven't considered since I was 20. What I mean by that is that they're like, I'm going to do keto. I'm going to cut this out. I'm just going to cardio my butt off for 6 days a week until I see this fat loss. I'm going to do 75 hard. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And I'm not trying to crap on these things. But what I am telling you is if you're like me and you don't want to just lose the body fat and then regain it later, and you don't want to lose the body fat through being miserable and swearing off your favorite foods and drinks and fun times, then I'm going to say that you do it the more permanent and sustainable way. And to do that, that's where you start thinking of the lifestyle aspect instead of just, I've got to get fat off as quickly as humanly possible. Instead, you're going to start thinking to yourself like, okay, well, all right, yeah, I do want this fat to come off, but how do I keep it off? Well, you do it this way. Well, okay, but how do I do this so I can still enjoy, I'm going to use Taco Bell, the occasional taco at Taco Bell or a pizza. Well, how you do it is by making sure that you're not at a 900 calorie deficit. You're at a 300 to 500 calorie deficit. And you use my 80-20 rule instead of just cutting out everything. So that 80% of your foods are whole foods, 20% are your foods like pizzas, beer, Taco Bell, let's say gummy worms, gummy bears, I don't know, whatever it is. I've had clients at Reese's. That's another one that people love. These are the things that you want to implement. And if you implement them you're not going to have something dangling over here going, this is a temptation for you, where you're going, no, I can't have it. No, I'm not tempted. I'm just going to keep it out of the house. I don't freaking do that. Instead, I just go, Cool, I want some Reese's. Look up on my app and see, like, all right, I've got X amount of calories left. Dang, I wanted like 3, but I can at least have 1.5 or 2. Cool, I have those, still within my calorie parameters, or my calorie budget, if you will. Still healthy, still had 80% of my foods coming from whole foods, and yet I had the thing that normally causes you to fall off of some proverbial wagon. Well, what I do is allow my clients 7 days a week to have 1/5, 20%, 1/5 of their foods come from these fun foods that normally tempt you out of doing the right thing. So if you can imagine losing several pounds a month consistently, gaining muscle, and still being able to have foods like, again, I'll list a couple of mine: buffalo chicken pizza, pepperoni pizza, chocolate chip cookies, brownies, these the sort of things that normally take you out of losing fat. And the way that I teach, it does not at all, because this is permanent. This is how you do a lifestyle. Okay. Focus on habits over quick fixes. Just read that one. And then, the other thing is you got to remember that your metabolism responds to patterns, not just some sort of perfect day. And so what I see a lot of times what people will do is they'll get everything really dialed in for a day or 2 or 3. And I mean, they're like perfect. And it's like grueling for them. They're like, oh, I hope I see 4 pounds on the scale because the last 3 days have been freaking miserable. I've done this, I've done that, I've done everything perfectly, Lance, and it better come off. And I'm like, well, it may, but the reality is that your body responds to patterns over time. You doing this for 3 days, especially with so much venom because you're just so angry about it, it's not really going to do you that much. And if you're hoping that 3 or 4 days is going to just get off everything, it's really not. So I would rather you focus on, okay, I'm getting better. My patterns are getting better. This week, I've done really well. I'm following the 80-20 rule. And this week I saw a pound loss. Next week I'm aiming for the same. Go slowly and know that it'll stay off, and enjoy your life. This way you're learning habits that you can keep forever. All right. Okay, so that's everything. Those are all 11. Now that you understand how to optimize your metabolism, though, you need a complete guide to put it all together. And that's exactly why I wrote my book called Food Love and Fat Loss. And it's going to give you everything from your exact meal timing for optimal metabolism, how to calculate your perfect portions. It's going to give you certain aspects of hunger cues in there. It's going to go over macro balance, like all the things that you can think of pertaining to nutrition and fat loss. It's in this book. So this book is free for today's viewers. So if you want that book, just comment below free book and I'll send it to you. You can get that. Again, normally it's anywhere from $17 to $27 depending on the promotion. Let's see. Is there anything else I forget? I want to make sure. I had a few different notes to make sure. No, I think we're good. So that's everything, guys. Just keep in mind, your metabolism is not broken. It just needs the right approach. So if you'll start implementing these strategies today, I can promise you're going to be amazed at how your body responds. If this video did help you, if you feel like it was valuable, please hit the like button and hit the share button. Share it with somebody who needs the information, or just even sharing it on your Facebook page helps to get the word out to people like you and I who are wanting to get in shape over 35 and stay in shape, but without swearing off your favorite foods, social events, and all the fun things in life. All right. Don't forget to grab my free copy of the book, Food, Love, and Fat Loss, while the offer lasts. Again, not going to last very long, only for this video. So your metabolism is going to thank you for that as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions. I literally will answer every single comment and question, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever it is. Let me know, and I will answer all those. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and